a top 3 crypto exchange goes bankrupt and Bitcoin capitulates down to 15,500. So what is happening to the cryptocurrency industry, and have we actually reached the bottom? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you my personal opinion on what I see happening and kind of what I am doing to set myself up for success in the future. Realize none of this is financial advice. I'm just giving my personal opinion. And if you get value from this video, I'd appreciate you showing some support, tickling the like button, and dropping a comment down below. So first and foremost, Bitcoin has dropped down. You can see this green box right here. I put this box here specifically for myself because this is where I want to accumulate in. Okay, so we are officially in the zone of where I want to accumulate, which is really between like 17,000 and 13,000 is where I am deploying pretty much almost all of my cash position. I'll probably leave about 3% cash in my portfolio, but I hope to deploy it all the way down into the 14K region. I do think we are going to head a little bit lower in the short term in the next few months. If we go look back at 2018, same thing happens. So first of all, you can see this kind of bottom consolidation. You saw the RSI coming up. We mentioned this on this channel. Hey, this happened in 2018 as well, where we had this consolidation. We had the RSI up in an uptrend here, and then we did finally capitulate from 6,300 down to $3,000. So I really do believe this is what is about to happen now. We're going to be in this kind of accumulation zone, probably between 18K and 13K over the next 1 to 2 months, depending on what equity markets are doing. But over a long period of time, this has been one of the best possible times to accumulate. And we've talked about several things, but if we were to just look at, for example, the RSI, when it's at really, really oversold levels, you can see we are at the most oversold level in the history of Bitcoin, first and foremost. And if you were to just look at, 2-year moving averages, you can see we're well below the 2-year moving average, which this time you typically have 6 to 9 months to accumulate in this zone. And after you've seen at least a 1,000% gain from if you were to accumulate in this zone relative to the next high. Obviously, the highs have been diminishing for Bitcoin each cycle, but regardless, even in the previous cycle, although we didn't reach near what we believed we were going to reach in 2021, it was still over 1,000% gain from accumulating below the 2-year moving average, which is obviously not too shabby. Now, on the equity side of things, we are seeing a really strong rebound right here. You can see just how green this candle is. We're looking at the S&P 500 futures right now, and you can see that the RSI is starting to pick up on its trend right here. So we're starting to show a little bit more strength in the S&P 500. What I do want to see is a new higher high in the RSI, because we have not done that this year in 2022. You can see we had higher highs back in 2021, obviously, but then since about August 2021, we've actually kind of been in a downtrend. We have never seen a new higher high on the RSI, and that's really what I want to see confirmation of. It is good to show the stochastic is up and to the right pretty dramatically, which kind of usually front runs the strength and then also price action a lot of the times when you're combining multiple indicators. So what I will do is I'm going to be a little bit more defensive when we actually hit this resistance. We've hit it 1, 2, 3 and rejected 3 times over the last year, and I'm going to be quite cautious once we start to hit this. If we do break through and break past this higher high, I think we could see crypto come out of that period where you have that accumulation period. It's kind of like a U-shaped recovery. I think we could come out of that a little bit sooner if we do see that, or we also see kind of a move like this where there's going to be there's so much capitulation in the market. It has been so oversold that you see a move like this, technically still somewhat in the bear market, where we come up 300% and then we come back down pretty drastically. So I would not be surprised if we see that as well, maybe up and to the right in a month or so, maybe 100%, 200% even potentially. And then we see Bitcoin retrace if the equities market starts to sell off once again. I will say this as well, that if you look at pretty much every statistic that there's possibly to look at, every indicator, whether you're looking at on-chain, you're looking at technicals, you're looking at just sentiment in the overall market, everything is pointing to a bottom right now. And guys, when I say bottom, I'm not saying, hey, we reached the very, very bottom at $15,558. I'm saying we're at the bottom or relatively close to the bottom. And if you were to buy, it would really essentially be a rounding error into the next bull market. So if you're a longer term type investor, I'm not talking about timing the very bottom of the tick of the candle. I'm talking about making a longer term investment and teching to time longer cycles. And if you were to look at every statistic that there is to look at on-chain metrics, technicals, sentiment, all that stuff, it's all pointing to a pretty large capitulation and potentially a bottom in Bitcoin. And we're going to go over a few statistics here right now. So first of all, Bitcoin has been dramatically being pulled from exchanges. You can see how much red we've seen over the last year. This is actually really bullish for markets. And I will say that because this increases the illiquid supply of Bitcoin, which means, hey, where is Bitcoin? It's moving to places where it can't be sold quickly. You can see the illiquid supply is reaching new all-time highs because everyone is pulling off of exchanges and moving to cold wallets where it can't be sold quickly. Now, I will say this as well before I forget. The whole FTX news, which this is going to be a whole nother video I shoot about, they had $1.2 billion of Bitcoin that they should have had from customer deposits. Okay, they just submitted their bankruptcy filing and they had $0 in Bitcoin. So pretty much what they were doing is rehypothecating Bitcoin. So everyone's like, okay, there's only 19 million Bitcoin released right now in circulating supply. And obviously a lot of those are lost or people don't touch them, right? So it's actually probably even a little less than that. But FTX was literally taking people's Bitcoin, selling it. Meanwhile, they were supposed to be holding it there. So technically, the Bitcoin supply is probably dramatically bigger because these exchanges were acting fraudulently, which is bad for Bitcoin's price short term. In the midterm, when all this stuff gets ironed out, we're going to realize that, holy crap, like these exchanges now, after these new laws get implemented because of this great collapse, they're going to have to hold the actual assets on the exchange, which means that there's going to be a larger supply of Bitcoin that's being held in a place that it already should be held. And we're going to have the real price impact of Bitcoin's limited supply. But really, for who knows how long, we haven't been seeing the price impact of scarcity because these exchanges have just been fraudulently keeping no balances when you actually deposit with them. So Bitcoin's scarcity aspect of it, which if you decrease supply and demand rate stays the same or goes up, that helps price, obviously. But we've been pretty much printing artificial Bitcoin because these exchanges are acting fraudulent. So when this stuff starts to come back around, I think that's going to help price dramatically. Okay, long-term holders are also dramatically increasing their supply of Bitcoin. You can see this big green wave. They've been doing that pretty much this entire consolidation period here. If we were to look at their supply, it is up to the right, reaching new all-time highs. Long-term holders are people that hold Bitcoin over 155 days. Reserve risk, this is done this is one of the most accurate bottoming indicators that there is. We're actually at the lowest place that we've ever been on reserve risk. So we are deep out, all the way past the green, but you can see all the previous cycle lows, we were deep into the green as well. So we are once again there on reserve risk. If we were to look at long-term holder MVRV, deep into the green, buy signal that happened every single time we've been in a bear market for Bitcoin. If we were to look at the R-HODL ratio, jumped into the green, and we're now starting to peek our head above, which again has timed every bottom of the market. And this isn't like to the day, right? It's obviously over a few months, but once again, time the bottom. Realized price, every time we've been below this, it's been the bottom of the market, or at least we've seen a dramatic increase after we've come down below the realized price, which is really like Bitcoin's like fair market value. And we're well below that right now. Pure multiple, we dipped into the green zone once again, which has timed the bottoms of the markets. If we were to look at a few more here, we'll look at the hodler net position change, which typically they will accumulate deep into the bear market as well. You'll see a lot of red when you have blow off tops. Then once you have sell-offs, you'll see a lot of green here. You'll see the entity adjusted dormancy flow all the way past the green, which we have done a few times in the depths of previous bear markets. Let's see number of whales here. Actually, this is going down a little bit, but if you look at Bitcoin, a supply held with a balance over 100K, this is actually up and to the right. So people, or wallets holding a ton of Bitcoin is going up dramatically. Z-score, this is probably my favorite one. And one of the most accurate ones as well, alongside reserve risk. But this is deep into the green as well, which is typically a bottoming signal for these longer cycles. So pretty much everything is showing a bottom for Bitcoin. Again, I'm going to be accumulating in this zone anywhere between 17 and 13K. I'm not banking on Bitcoin going down to 3K or 6K or 9K. Could it have a wick that goes down to 12 or 10? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I don't need to time the exact bottom of the market because I understand the asymmetric potential that we have right now and likely what is ahead of us, because I don't see the money printer slowing down anytime soon. And I think Bitcoin fundamentally has a pretty big use case as a potential store of value into the future. Obviously, it's still a very young asset, has a low market cap. It's not acting as a true store of value right now. I think it has the potential to be that, and it does potentially have the ability to act as a peer-to-peer network as well, as far as value transfer and as well as acting in the place of traditional fiat currencies to transact. And we're starting to see that happening on the Lightning Network, which has allowed this thing to start to actually act as cash. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. To be honest, the larger the headlines there are, so the more bankruptcies, the more companies going out of business, the more fear in the market, the more that people say that this is dead and going to zero, the more I am going to buy. So the larger the headline, the larger the buy order for me, at least. All right. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Do you think Bitcoin has bottomed? Do you think we're going below 10K? Would be very, very curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you here on this next video.